Pittsburgh. Don't mess up Russ. I got him as my third quarterback in one of my drafts.
And welcome everyone to this week's episode of Crazy's Corner. I don't know if you guys got that opening, but Russell Wilson will, I would not draft him, and that's what our show is about today. We're talking about guys we're avoiding at their current ADPs. Russell Wilson, current starting quarterback for the Pittsburgh Steelers. I'm not drafting him. Just throwing that one out there. We can get that out of the way for now. But we're talking about guys that we don't like at their current ADPs, guys we're not really leaving any of our fantasy football drafts with, joined by Zach from Ocean State and Jeff and Will from Media. Welcoming, guys. We just recorded an episode talking about guys we like, so go check that one out if you haven't already. And this one, not quite as positive as the last one. My guy that I'm not leaving any of my drafts with, current RB5 on Sleeper, that's Jonathan Taylor. He is the He has an injury history. That's one box checked. He's got a rushing quarterback. That's another box check. Rushing touchdown upside is gone. With Anthony Richardson there, he's bigger and stronger than Jonathan Taylor is. He's going to get his call around the goal line. And then when you have a rushing quarterback and you're a receiving running back like Jonathan Taylor has proven to be, with Phillip Rivers, Gardner Minshew, where he can just rack in those dump-offs. You don't get those with Anthony Richardson. He's already come out, Anthony Richardson, and says, he's not going to cut back his running. The Colts aren't going to try and cut that back because that's not who he is. He can't be an effective NFL quarterback without his rushing ability. So if he's rushing anytime that there's any sort of pressure, not using the checkdowns, and he's taking some of Jonathan Taylor's touchdowns away, then Jonathan Taylor at RB5 is just a little too high for me. We can get a guy like Jahmyr Gibbs or Kyron Williams who are just in a much better position that should score more fantasy points in my opinion. So I'm out on Jonathan Taylor completely unless he falls outside like the top 10. I just think that the upside is not there for him at this point. Zach, what do you think about Jonathan Taylor?
I like all of your points there, and as someone who has Anthony Richardson in Dynasty, I'm hoping that is the case and that he does vulture a ton of touchdowns away from Jonathan Taylor. But yeah, he solid points, and honestly, he was going to be one of my. I just did a quick, just looking through it last second, but honestly, Jonathan Taylor was one that stood out to me, just based on, like you said, the guys that are going around him, with the injury history and the quarterback situation, and who's the Colts backup quarterback?
At this point, I think it's Joe Flacco.
Joe Flacco. Oh man, well. Everything changes if Joe Flacco is the quarterback. Then I rescind this take here. I'm all on the Jonathan Taylor train, but if Anthony Richardson plays the entire season, I think you're going to be left with more to desire from Jonathan Taylor, especially where you're drafting him.
Yeah, I agree. Jeff, Will, anything you guys want to add before we move on here?
No, not really. I think a lot of people are still going back to that second season that he had with them. I mean, there's still not a whole lot to be, hold on to and be like, this dude is that number 5 guy. I'd rather have Derrick Henry, and I've seen him go way before Derrick Henry in a bunch of drafts.
Exactly. Yeah, definitely some better values later. Zach, did you find another guy who you're not liking at their current ADP as well as Jonathan Taylor?
Yeah, it's going to be Puka Nacua. And this one's more of a gut feeling situation. I think drafting him certainly at the ceiling there. And it kind of plays into that same situation where you're looking at guys that are going around that area. I believe it's Garrett Wilson is going around there. Maybe Amon-Ra St. Brown a little bit earlier. So I don't know. For me, it just feels like Cooper Kupp is probably going to have some sort of a bounce back this season. Matthew Stafford is another year older. I believe who's back quarterback in
Jimmy G.
Jimmy G, right? But he's suspended.
Yep.
Taking handsome drugs or something like that. But I just think that what you got from Puka Nacua last year was so insane that you could be looking at a similar situation like Cooper Kupp had that crazy year and then kind of had a down season that followed it. There's only so much you can keep up with, and it's not so much a Puka thing, but the guys that are going around him, I think I prefer.
Yeah, I agree. I like Cooper Kupp later in drafts. You can get him like 2, 3 rounds later, so I like that value better. And like you said, I think Puka could possibly be the wide receiver 1 on this team. But is that difference like enough to take him 3 rounds earlier? He's already dealing with the injury in camp. He struggled with drops last year as well, which is not something I see brought up quite often enough. Cooper Kupp always sure-handed. So I like that aspect of Cooper Kupp's game a little bit better. And yeah, if we have a healthy Cooper Kupp and a 90% Puka Nacua, I would take Cooper Kupp for sure. For those reasons, I'm also out on Puka at his current ADP. I have not drafted him anywhere. Jeff, Will, are either of you guys in on Puka, or you feel the same way at the end of the first round? He's a little bit too high.
No, at that ADP, definitely. Because if you remember when Cooper Kupp came back last year, a couple of games, that target share kind of shifted to Cooper Kupp's.
Yeah. And Cooper Kupp's also the red zone target there.
Exactly. And not to lie, I like that kid Jordan Whittington. I think he's going to continue to ascend as well, man. He's kind of like Puka Nacua was last year. Watching him during the preseason, I'm like, this kid, he might have been the best Texas receiver out of all the group that came out.
Could be. Will, anything you want to add before we move on to Jeff's guy he's not touching? All right, Jeff. Jeff, who are you avoiding in all of your drafts?
And unless he falls considerably, it's Sam Laporta, because I have the same type of thought, that like with Puka Nacua. I mean, we all knew that he was going to be used, but I think, again, it's an overreaction where I'm seeing him be the first tight end off the board. I'm like, dude, that's one season. Jameson Williams is there now. I think they're going to get the running back. What's his name? Gosh darn it. He's on one of my teams. I think they're going to get him involved a lot more in the passing game. Of course, you still have Mon St. Ra there. So I just think it's just a lot. If it's between him and Kelsey, I'm still like, I might have to go with the, even though he's a little bit older, might be on the decline of his career, but I just would feel safer with Kelsey.
Yeah, I think Sam Laporta's ADP is just too high. He finished as a tight end 1 last year, but that's where he's going this year at tight end 1. When you have guys like Trey McBride, Travis Kelce, Dalton Kincaid, who should all have great seasons, you can get them, around 2 rounds, 3 rounds later, depending. Mark Andrews as well. I think it's just a little bit too high. I want to have maybe one of those top 5 tight ends, but I'm going to take the end of that as opposed to start at the beginning and take, Sam Laporta. You mentioned that they have a lot of weapons already. We should see Jameson Williams break out this year. They have Amon-Ra St. Brown. They have other wide receivers as well. They also just signed 2 wide receivers to their practice squad in Tim Patrick and Allen Robinson. So those are guys that they're veterans. If they find their way onto the field, they're taking away targets. So when you look at that in a wide receiver room that's crowded, in an offense that is great, but it's going to spread the ball around, I think that Sam Laporta could take a step back this year, and is not a guy I'm often targeting. Jeff or Zach, Will, do you guys both agree there?
Look, to me, both of them have the real issue is their quarterbacks are getting old. Goff, okay, a lot of pressure on the Lions this year, so they have the talent. We'll see. Both of them make me nervous.
What's that? Tim Patrick just tore his ACL again. So, I don't know if I'm not remembering correctly. Was there a correlation of Amon-Ra missing some time last year, and Laporta really taking advantage of that? I'm not sure. I could be wrong, but I feel like he definitely was propped up with a ton of touchdowns. I know that for sure. And we all know touchdowns are definitely not something that is, repeatable each year. So I guess from that aspect, he would definitely be someone who make me nervous. I mean, if he's your starting tight end, I mean, what's the ADP?
Tight end 1.
Laporta's tight end 1 officially.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, that's a little rich. That's rich for my blood.
Yeah. Yeah, Will, who's the guy that you are not talking about? This is a guy at the top of draft boards as well. Who's the guy who you're not drafting?
I'm not touching CeeDee Lamb. Dude, like you live as a fantasy football person, playing fantasy football long enough as a fan of the NFL, training camp holdouts. Nope. And I'll be honest with you, I think the Cowboys are a car wreck getting ready to happen. They are collecting every has-been player they can put out there. They didn't sign Dak to a long-term deal. Like it's either going to be really good or it's going to be really bad, and we'll see.
Yeah, his current ADP at the wide receiver 2 is also extremely high, considering you have that risk. You know, if Dak gets hurt, what's to stop Dak from saying, okay, I don't want to, I could come back, but why would I? If the season isn't going well, Dak is a competitor, so you probably want to be out there. But if things start to go wrong, there's already high tensions because Dak needs to get paid, Parsons needs to get paid. Lamb did get paid, but as Will said, hold out training camp. Not always the best for your connection there. Hopefully he'll be okay, but in that position you're looking at Tyreek Hill. I'd rather have Tyreek Hill over CeeDee. Maybe you're looking at Christian McCaffrey with the whole calf injury people are talking about. So if you're in the top 3 of your draft, he's definitely the one I wouldn't want on my team.
Can we agree you want to, if you're doing a redraft league, you want to be at the bottom this year?
Yeah. Yeah, that's where I prefer. I prefer if I can get one of Breece Hall or Bijan at 7, then that's kind of where I'd like to be. If not, I'm fine moving back and taking like AJ Brown, guy I'm high on for this season. But yeah, the top of the draft is definitely hard because by the time he gets back to you, you're looking at like, do I want Michael Pittman? And the answer to that question. So
I have to face this tomorrow. I have my first real big money league tomorrow night, and I have the number 2 overall pick. So I'm going to be staring down these guys you just mentioned with the top 3 there. And I've done some mocks, and I've seen CeeDee be that not only is he the wide receiver 2, but I've seen him go as early as 2 overall. Depending on who you draft with it, I wouldn't. There's some people who still have a bad taste in their mouth with Christian McCaffrey. So and they might be against Tyreek Hill because they don't like Tua. So there's some people that might look at CeeDee Lamb as like the 101. And maybe they use the inverse logic that Will said is they go, oh, well, he just got paid. So he obviously money is going to make him, better at fantasy. But that doesn't always translate. Sometimes not that they take their foot off the gas, but it's like, you were working your whole life for that contract and now you have it. I wonder if I don't want to discredit his work ethic, but that's tough. To circle back, I'm not looking forward to the number 2 overall pick. I'm most likely just go with my boy Tyreek Hill. You're right, Will. It's definitely a little murky at the top.
Yeah, you take Tyreek Hill and Christian McCaffrey, and then just hope someone falls down to you next pick, and hope that you can get some good value. But yeah, it's definitely rough. That'll close out this show. Like I said, we record a show of guys we like at their current ADP, so you can go check that out if you haven't already. If you have, thank you for watching. Hope you guys enjoy it. We'll be back next week. Hopefully, we can do a Dynasty-specific episode before the season starts, and we can give you maybe some trade forward candidates, some guys that we're trying to get before their prices go up this year, and maybe some guys we're trying to trade away before their prices drop. So you definitely want to make sure
you're trying to get Cordero Patterson.
No, I don't want Cordell Patterson.
Get him while you can.
Pittsburgh Steelers. Get them out of here.
Steelers country.
Let's roll.
Let's roll. Yeah, roll that.
All right, y'all.